You have to promise yourself you won't. When you can use somebody, you have to promise yourself you won't. And when you can burn somebody, you have to promise that you won't. Some of the strongest people that we have in Detroit are women. You've had to be strong. You've had to be so much in so many ways. But without you realizing it, sometimes strong women are rough on kids. They're really rough on children because they get in kids' face. And when a strong woman gets in a child's face, the child diminishes. The child becomes less. The child withers. There's a loss in that moment of acceptance, and there is something that goes wrong in that moment. And we realize, I'm bad. All of the working of accusation from Satan is to come to that point. You are nothing. You will be nothing. You lack. And so what happens in that moment? Lepers hang together. Hurt people hang together. Thieves hang together. Liars hang together. People without hope hang together. And we are separating people from the promise by our attitude. And we need to turn to people and say, there's a God big enough to bring water out of a rock. God is able. People are hurt so badly in this hour by good people. Because good people get angry. Good people have experienced so much injustice, paid the extra price, gone the extra mile, done the extra thing. Moses, the meekest man who ever lived, became hurt and angry. Why? Because he was a good person, did the right thing. And when you do the right thing, there's a feeling like it ought to go okay for me. People ought to cooperate with me. I've paid my dues. I've done the right thing. It's time the kids help. The husband helps. It's time that other people pitch in. I've done my share. What happens in that moment? God comes along and says, good woman, you're not going to get the promised land. Good man, you're not going to get the promised land. Well, who's going to go? If I can't go, who can go? The broken, the bruised, the hurting. The gospel's a marvelous thing. When it belongs to the poor, when it belongs to the rich, it's not much. The gospel's a wonderful thing when people get it who don't deserve it. When it's given to people who deserve it, it's not much. The gospel's a wonderful thing because it's given to the poor. To the poor, the gospel is preached. Who are the poor? The children. Who are the poor? The people who are limited. The man who finds it so hard to fill out an application for a job has never learned how to read very well. The person who, when it comes to math, it becomes a mystery. The person who looks at their life and wonders why they've got somebody that seems to be good, and yet they're interested in somebody else. The gospel goes forth to the poor. And the temptation in the midst of the gospel is that we end up with a Moses syndrome, where that we who are leaders in the church begin to feel like it's they and us. Moses and Aaron begin to have their talks together. Moses and Aaron, they said, hey, I got to wash this fellowship off my hands, and then we'll go someplace. Shaking hands with all these people. Man, I don't know what kind of germs all over me now. That happens in the church. That's the attitude that preachers have. They don't mean to do it. They don't mean to be that way. But we get to the place, if we're not careful, that church becomes some kind of a business. It becomes the religious things that we're doing. It's the place where successful people with gifts are able to demonstrate their gifts. And we got the rest of the people who come in. They're the poor. They're the poor. They're the people who hurt. They're the people that are broken. They're getting blessed. We got some time for them. But until we've got some love for them and say in hope and joy, you're going to the promised land. You're going to the promised land. You're going to the promised land. But the broken and the bruised are going to the promised land. Moses, Aaron, you're fired. What do we do? You didn't believe that I could do something with these people. You thought there'll never be anything. Secondly, I told you to focus on my power. And you focused on your hurts. You focused on what was wrong instead of what's right. God says, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Listen, it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of a living God. But it's God's work chastening you, it's not mine. My task is to really be able to go through life year after year without losing the dream that God's going to do something in your life. We don't know how much we've lost the vision until you turn on television, and I listen to preachers with one thought in mind: milking that people for all they're worth. Send me $1,000 and God is going to solve your financial problems. Sounds like God's going to solve his too. Give me $1,000 and God is going to bless you. And you begin to realize in that moment that God surely is saying something. Prophet, you're never going to get to the promised land. You may get to heaven, but you're not going to get to the place of promise because you don't understand where my heart is, saith the Lord.